why does it feel like Call of Duty's events are always so disappointing?
All right, my boy Girthquake, let's do it. Arms are sweaty, knees weak, girth spaghetti.
No! And look, there's definitely more pressing issues right now with the Call of Duty franchise and, honestly, the world. But at this point, I basically have COD HQ's Steam charts page as a pinned Chrome tab, just refreshing it every single day, seeing more and more people drop off of this game. And while many people attribute this to cheaters in ranked play or the increasingly rampant use of AI in the calling cards section, there's just no way that this many people are playing ranked and actually give a shit about AI, right? I mean, the amount of people in my life using ChatGPT to dress themselves every morning is just growing day by day. Personally, I use Grok to dress myself. Now, I think that this purge has another ingredient in the mix somewhere. Something that's so simple that it's often overlooked, and that is fatigue. People are just tired of the same old, which really isn't anything new, by definition, but there's two things that live service games like Call of Duty usually can rely on to keep things fresh, and that's content seasons and special events, both of which have been kind of lacking so far in Black Ops 6's life cycle. For instance, Season 1 is shaping up to be one of the longest seasons since Modern Warfare 2 Season 1 a few years ago. And if we'll just take a quick look at what player numbers looked like back then, oh, right. Bad. However, to keep players entertained between seasonal drops, one thing that devs started doing in the last few years is showering us with a ton of events with unique rewards for completing each one. For instance, during Season 1 last year, we could earn things like a camo, or, like, I get it. People prefer camos to dumb little emblems or whatever, but can you honestly sit there with a straight face and tell me that you've used the Dune camo more than one time ever? That said though, Modern Warfare 3 had incredible staying power last year. I just don't think that the events themselves were really doing the heavy lifting there. Instead, it was more of a combo of map variants, fun modes, a Season 1 that wasn't 3 months long, and most importantly, aftermarket parts, or AMPs, as it's usually shortened, because people can't spell market. That's a weird take. Why am I getting mad at people abbreviating? Now, I loved these things, and although I did think that in combination with all the other grinds in this particular game, the weekly challenges that you needed to do to unlock them were a bit much. But hey, you know what? I'll tell you what. These are what got me playing the game week to week, day by day, because they were something that I actually wanted to unlock, as opposed to most rewards in battle passes or event tracks. And my ideal world would be to work aftermarket parts into events themselves. Because look, if you already quit the game, someone telling you that there's a random new camo isn't gonna get you excited enough to re-download it. Or at least not as much as something like, say, holy shit, they added a new flamethrower to the game. You've gotta try this shit in zombies, bro. That's an actual quote. I'm pretty sure Socrates said it. But that's all just one piece of the event's puzzle. I think for them to work as intended, they also need to take a good look at how you unlock things through these events, as well as what kind of limited time modes and maps they usually bring alongside them. Because honestly, it feels like they're leaving a lot on the table in terms of making each event feel unique and actually change up how you play the game, which, in my opinion at least, should be the point. But to properly break some of that down, I think it's best to go kind of line by line here, event by event, and talk about what I was personally hoping for and where I think they kind of missed the mark with some of them. And first this year was the hit list event, which I actually really liked theme-wise because it fit in with the Season 1 story. But the event itself was all based on just getting kills. And, I don't know if you've ever played Call of Duty before, but like, that's already the point. Personally, I would have loved to see this event be like an actual hit list. Like have the event tab be a big murder board a la Ghost Recon Wildlands with a few targets within the BO6 universe, and then each one has a specific kill-based challenge associated with it that you'd have to do in order to cross them off your list, eventually leading to the big boss character at the end, and that's where the challenge is harder, and you get the weapon or whatever at the very end. So the core mechanic of the event would be just challenge-based, which we know works. People really like challenges, but it would be geared toward the actual theme of the event. Now, after hit list was Gobblegum Mania, which was a purely zombies event. And this one was weird because it just didn't make any fiscal sense. It required you to use 50 total Gobblegums, which if you don't play zombies, these are one-time consumable items. And in return for burning 50 of them, you will get 7 in return. Like just apples to apples, you're losing 43 gums. I think what would have been cool is if they repurposed the old MW2 event where kills would randomly drop coins, except make it so that only elite zombies will drop them, but it's a guaranteed drop, and then you can collect them and return back to the event screen where you can use them in a little gumball machine mock-up to get some random bonus gums, cosmetics, maybe like Dr. Monty's factory, there's like 2x gums or free spin or whatever. Small stuff like that. Have fun with it. Which again, mechanically isn't all that complicated. But just a little bit of theming and making the reward actually worth it, I think can go a long way. Plus, there's tons of research on how just a little slot machine thing can really tickle human brains in a way that makes them want to just keep going. And there was also no new mode for this event, which, I don't think that every single event needs a new map or mode, but it would be nice, at least to justify its existence, you know what I mean? I personally would have loved to see an LTM based around Gobblegums, like maybe every round you're randomly given the effects of one random Gobblegum, kind of like Havoc's modifiers, but based on all the pre-existing gums. And obviously that's a bit of a tall ask considering the amount of work that goes into making modes like these, especially when they just sort of disappear after 3 weeks anyway. So I don't know, maybe the solution to that is just don't make them disappear. Like, I get it in multiplayer, you can't split the player base up too much for matchmaking, so you have to pull some out of rotation. That makes sense. But what exactly is the drawback of making zombie LTMs permanent modes? Is it just to combat cheesing of camo grinds or whatever? Like, I'm sorry, did my enjoyment of the game get in the way of my engagement with the game? I think there's probably also some nuance on the multiplayer side too, like maybe making an LTM mosh pit that they all go into once they've retired, and keeping that one as a permanent playlist, or at least whenever there isn't an active event already running, Just so that all those devs' hard work doesn't get erased within a calendar month. After that event was Merry Mayhem and Archie's Festival Frenzy. 2 Christmas events that I don't think really justified both existing. Now, I really liked the idea behind Archie's event being like a big advent calendar, but to be honest, I think they kind of fumbled it using the whole coin drop, or in this case, little Archie drop mechanic here, even before they accidentally gave like half the player base 3,000 of these so they could just unlock everything off the bat. To me, I think the key, at least from a player standpoint, is to make them drop when you do a specific thing. That way the player has some agency, and it doesn't feel like Activision can just artificially choose how many hours it's gonna take by fucking with drop rates. As far as what I would replace it with, I think going along with the whole advent calendar thing, this might have been a good opportunity for like a daily login type deal. It is the season of giving after all, so an event based around not actually having to do anything and just being gifted a random cosmetic each day would have been nice, and kept people logging in, which is the point. Or maybe instead of the random chance of dropping an Archie on every kill, maybe they were hidden around the map in these snow piles that you'd have to, run around and find. And then lastly is the newest event, Squid Game 2. And now, the progression itself, I really don't have much of a suggestion for that doesn't completely derail it. Instead, the main thing that I want to talk about is the game modes, which they really went all out for in this event. However, a lot of them just didn't hit for me. First is red light, green light, which was an interesting mode at first, but after literally one round, it just kind of feels boring. Like, it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't escalate, and if you get shot off the bat, that's it. You're out for the entire game, and you just have to back out and re-queue. Then there's Pentathlon, which is easily my favorite mode, and honestly, it's the only one that I want to stay after the event is over. Then there's dead light, green light, which is the zombies mode, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like this mode at all. If you haven't played it, it's basically just regular zombies, but sometimes you're not allowed to move. And now, this is also something that'll be present in the Warzone mode that I'll talk about next, but I think what's really holding this one back is that it's shoehorned into a regular zombies match. Like, if this were a survival style mode where everything was pre-opened or unlocked on a round timer, or zombies dropped you your perks and upgrades so that you didn't have to worry about too much besides the whole dead light, green light thing as your main focus, then I think it could work. But as is, Call of Duty Zombies already has so much stuff to micromanage that adding this extra bit on top just felt annoying to me. Like it just got in the way. And I guess I get it looking at it as a challenge mode, but to me it was just aggravating, to be honest. And lastly is the titular Squid Game in Warzone, which is the mode that I thought had the most potential, because at the end of the day, what is Squid Game if not a BR? And now, I love the core concept of there being challenges every few minutes and whoever gets in last is eliminated. But instead of mixing in these new Squid Game elements with the core of Warzone's BR, they again just kind of tacked it on top. Honestly, I would have loved if PvP was just completely turned off. I mean, there was already respawn, so it's not like there was really much of a point to going after other squads anyway, and instead really hyper-focus on those challenges. If you haven't seen Squid Game, then the basic premise is that there are people playing children's games for their lives. Things like red light, green light, or rock, paper, scissors, but with deadly consequences. And given that Call of Duty is a game that a lot of us played in our childhood, I felt like there was a lot that they could have done with it. I'm talking RCXD races, dodgeball with snowballs or throwing knives, floors lava, duck hunt. Like, imagine you all drop into a cut down version of Urzikstan or Area 99, and the circle quickly collapses around a very specific location. And this area is built for a specific mini game. You open some chests, which contain everything that you'll need. Maybe a quarter of the players pull out a knife, but the rest only get a single Dead Silence pack. And then the announcer pops in to say, today we'll be playing hide and seek. And then whoever survives in the next 60 or 90 seconds moves on. And then the circle moves to a location next door, and a new game begins based off of the items in the next chest. That way, at its core, you still have Battle Royale. You're still working to be the final squad or the final person standing. But you're playing into the theme of Squid Game by playing games. You're completely throwing everything on its head, and to me, that's what's fun. So anyway, those are my ideas, and look, I know that a lot of them have this really grand scale about them that Call of Duty generally doesn't go for, but I think that's kind of the issue. I mean, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year to make virtually the same exact game, and I'm not a businessman, I don't know how money works, I can't count to 1 million, but where is this money going? If I fell off of a multiplayer shooter because I got bored of it watching a trailer for all the shiny new pixels that they added to the exact same features and mechanics that I got bored of, isn't going to make me want to hop back on. But you know what will? My friend saying something along the lines of, holy shit, dude, they added a flamethrower. You gotta check this shit out in Zombies. Again, that's a real quote. This time, it was actually Mark Twain. Like I said, I think that the Squid Game event is a huge step in the right direction, but it just feels like it all needs a little bit more time in the oven, a little bit more love, because at the end of the day, you get what you give. And if all that you give to reward your loyal player base for playing your game is a camo that you can put on a gun while grinding toward the next camo, then you shouldn't be surprised when most of your player base drops off, realizing the futility of that exercise. And I mean, exercise in a video game? What is this? Wii Sports? Can you tell that my script ended a few lines ago? Anyway, man, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.